I'm Amy Zawi with the Jerusalem Connection Red Alert Report for April 6th. Why the uptick in violence in Israel? For centuries, particularly in Europe, Jewish communities and Jewish people were discriminated against and often told to go back where you came from. Finally, in the 20th century, there existed a place for Jews to actually go home to, their ancestral homeland, the land in the Middle East now known as Israel. Beginning in the 1800s, Jews from Europe slowly began to leave Europe and return to the land of Israel, then known as the region of Palestine. They did this by purchasing land and developing it and fulfilling the prophecy to make the land bloom. Part of the reason for doing this was the centuries of persecution that they were subject to in Europe. Jews also saw the increase in Jew hate ultimately manifested as the Holocaust in the 20th century, wherein Jews were no longer told to just go home. They were told to be gone, and the Nazis put in play a system to accomplish that task. Other governments, regional and national, including communist governments, also engaged in systematic extermination of Jews. Now that the Jewish people have a dedicated state as a homeland, a state that respects its occupants of various religions and cultures, this state does have a Jewish identity. This Jewish identity means that the laws and policies and governance come from the moral and ethical underpinnings of the Jewish religious text. However, it is not a theocracy, meaning it does not impose religion on its inhabitants. Throughout the centuries, there has always been a remnant of Jews in Israel and a Jewish presence in the land now known as Israel. Therefore, the Jewish people being there is not a colonial effort, but an effort to return home. However, now the Jewish people and Israel is being told that they do not belong there and they have no right to be there, and this is not their home. And this message is being manifested across the spectrum of human society around the world. Western universities, their professors, their educational organizations, their student groups, as well as political entities and organizations, and even religious leaders are telling the world that Jewish people have no right to the land of Israel and are even violating human rights by being there. This message is drummed down to the point where lies about the conduct and spirit of Israeli society and government are being told in order to garner support for this alliance against Israel existing. One way this message is manifesting is in outright violence, the rash of people in Israel being killed doing everyday tasks in their own communities, walking on their own streets. Not even all the victims are Jewish. The notion feeding into communities that they are lying and oppressed by Israel and they are oppressed by problems in their communities and blaming Jews in Israel is resulting in anger that spills out and innocent people are being killed. No other form of hate is more obvious than when someone is killed on the street because of their own identity, their Jewishness. And this travesty, when it happens in the streets of New York City, Los Angeles, Paris, or Tel Aviv, it is the very definition of anti-Semitism. The Jerusalem Connection stands in solidarity with Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state in the Middle East and to exist in peace and coexist with its neighbors and its diverse citizenship. We stand in solidarity with Jews living anywhere in the world, that they may have the same rights and privileges and security and safety as any of their neighbors. We want truth in reporting, that context and history is properly examined when identifying events or studying situations. We urge you to be that voice of truth when the mainstream media and the schools and the pulpits do not voice that truth. We commit to you that we will do our best to be that voice. Shavua Tov, and have a great week.